Okay, so welcome everybody to the Getting Started training for the Revive Your Downline Challenge. This is a critical video for you to watch before we start the challenge on Monday, July 15th. I'm going to be giving you an assignment that you must make sure you complete sometime this week before we start. So I'm going to be talking to you today about what I truly believe to be by far the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to prospecting and recruiting. This is, without a doubt, the number one reason why some of you have been successful when it comes to getting customers in your business, but you've really failed when it comes to growing and building a team. Maybe you've been completely unsuccessful with recruiting, or maybe you've been okay getting personal recruits, but your bigger problem has been duplication. Your recruits are not doing the work. They're not what you are referring to as business builders. But I'm here to tell you that there is a reason why this happens. And the concept that I want to introduce to you today in this core video is this idea of not making yourself the expert. This is so important to understand. And I'm telling you, there's nothing you will ever do that will make a bigger difference in your results when it comes to building a team than this concept right here. So let's talk about this. What does it mean to make yourself the expert? Oh, by the way, all of the training I'm going to be giving you right now, along with all of our training for the 5 days of the challenge, along with all the assignments, is actually going to be available to you in the special PDF that we've put together that, depending on when you're watching this, you'll already have a copy or we'll be sending to you very soon as we have it ready, okay? But I wanted to at least get you started with this training. But making yourself the expert is this. It's when you are the one that's personally doing all the explaining, right? Talking to explaining the product and the business, answering all the questions. When you're the one that's personally doing that, what that is you are making yourself the expert. Now, you might be asking, what's wrong with that? Well, here's what's wrong with it. When you make yourself the expert, when you're the one doing all the explaining and answering questions, it comes across to your prospect as you selling them. And here's the problem with that. Most of the people that you're going to approach about your business and your products do not consider themselves salespeople. They're not sales types. And when they perceive what you're doing as selling, here's what's going to happen. They may very well buy your products because maybe they have a need for them or you just did a great job explaining to them why they need it. But when it comes to them answering the question, do I want to look at this as a business? Most of them are going to say no because they don't see themselves doing what you did to get them to buy or to get them to join. So, in other words, they just don't either have the time or the desire. Now, maybe you're not realizing that this ultimately has been your problem. And I want you to think really closely. If you've struggled with building a team, be honest with yourself. Have you made yourself the expert? Have you done too much explaining? Because I'll tell you, it doesn't matter whether you're leading with the products or whether you're leading with your business. This applies to both, because think about it. Maybe you're in a company that leads with your products, and that's okay. But at some point, you're going to want to have the business conversation with that prospect or that new customer. And once you do that, even if it's several weeks later, maybe a month later, what do you think they're going to think back to when you present them with, hey, maybe you should do this? They're going to think about when you first introduced them to the products. And they're going to ask themselves, can I do this? And here's the thing we always have to understand. Unless we make it stupid simple for people, right? The harder we make this by taking it on ourselves, the less attractive it's going to be to other people. We have to constantly be demonstrating to people this is a simple business. And I'm telling you, it starts with you. Now let's talk about another scenario. Maybe your problem in your mind is, Bob, there's no duplication, right? I can recruit people all day long, but they're not business builders. Well, let me give you a different way to look at it. I bet you this is more likely what's happening. It's not that they're not business builders, but it's that you're signing them up, you're doing it the wrong way by making yourself the expert. They then, in turn, are trying to do exactly what you did because people don't do what you say, they do what you do. Only they're not as good as you. They're not as talented as you. They don't have as much information or belief or confidence, and that's why they're failing. I bet you it's more likely that they actually tried, but they failed because they didn't have the right strategy. What I'm trying to get across to you, all of this starts with you. See, here's something that I want you to understand. It took me a long time to realize this. And if you're taking notes, you should write this down. The training process for your new recruit doesn't start when they sign into the business. It starts from the very first moment you open your mouth to them. Even before they know they're going to join, the first interaction you are teaching and training people. So you must become very mindful of that. Let me give you a different way to think of this. So this might be helpful. When you are approaching a prospect, whether it's about your products or your business, it doesn't matter. When you're approaching them, there are two distinct parts to this process. Part number one is what we call the invitation. Your job is to simply invite people to take a look, invite them to try your products. The second part of the approach, and it's critical to understand that these are two separate steps, is the presentation. Now, this is never your job. Look, the person that invites can never be the person that is presenting. These two things are separate steps done by two different people. And I'm telling you, the number one reason why people struggle, they take these two steps and they combine them and mash them up into one step, right? Mash them up into one step. And that's probably pretty indicative of how your prospecting conversations feel sometimes. See, if you're the one inviting and you go right into giving all the facts and figures and details, that's the reason why you're struggling. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself, well, Bob, I get it, but here's the thing. How can I not present? Well, the critical concept you must understand is this. It's called third-party tools. Third-party tools are the solution to your prospecting issues, I promise you. Now, you might be asking, what's a third-party tool? Well, it's pretty easy to remember. A third-party tool is anything but you. A third-party tool could be a video that talks about your products or business or combination of both. It could be a recorded call that does that. It could be a video that is kind of like a testimonial video of success stories in your company. It could be your website. It could be a sample of your product. It could be a brochure. It could be a recorded presentation. It could be a virtual party or a Facebook group or a call or a group chat with someone in your upline. Anything but you. Here's the thing. You have to learn how to start saying less yourself, not making yourself the expert, and just start inviting people to tools. Invite them to the video. Invite them to the call. Invite them to the virtual party. And here's one of the biggest tips that I could give you. The less you say, the more you will make. Took me a very long time to learn that. I come from a sales background. It was really hard for me to not talk, to not give the details. But eventually what I learned is that wasn't working. I was open. I finally tried something different. I started using tools. I started talking less, and it literally changed my business almost overnight. So here's the thing that I really, really want all of you to do. Your assignment here, starting out, is you must find at least one third-party tool that you can use for this challenge. See, in this challenge, we are really going to have you focused on taking action every day for 5 days. We're going to give you scripts. We're going to give you approaches. We're going to give you inspiration. We're going to give you everything you need, but you're not going to be able to execute effectively unless you have the tool to use. So I'll get into the details of the assignment, but before I do that, I just want to remind you this. The good news is this. You're here for a reason. What you've been doing isn't working, right? Or it's not working as well as you want. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. What I want to challenge you with is be open to trying something different. Be open to trying something different, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels unnatural, because it's hard saying less, especially if you're used to being the expert. But I want you to realize in order to get results you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done, and that's going to feel a little weird. It's going to be scary. But have faith and trust in me, your virtual upline, that this will be the thing that changes things for you in your business. You just have to be able to, what I like to say, embrace the suck. Give the suck a hug. Be willing to not be great starting out in order to be good. And I'll give you everything you need to get there. So here's your assignment. You need to find a third-party tool. Now, I'm going to give you some guidelines on how to do that, and all of this, once again, is going to be in the challenge document. But my best advice for you is this. If this whole idea of third-party tools is new to you, you've never used them, first person you want to check with is your upline. Check with your upline or their upline or even other successful leaders in your company. Find out, hey, what are you using? Are you using videos or samples or brochures or calls? See, the key here is you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. If somebody's already doing something and it's working, find out what that is, get it, and you use that thing. And understand this. You're going to have a natural tendency to want to overthink this, right? You're going to want to find the perfect tool. It doesn't quite have, look, there's no perfect tool, okay? Almost all prospects are not going to see one third-party tool and sign up on the spot. There's going to need to be a series of exposures, which we'll get into during the challenge. So most likely, you're going to have to show them and share multiple things with them. So all you're doing is you're picking one thing to start the process with. And I promise you, if you just do that, it's going to make a huge difference for you. And in terms of videos, which I know a lot of you will probably be using, the ideal length in my mind is somewhere between 3 and 10 minutes. If it's a little shorter, a little longer, okay. But anything longer than like 10 minutes is becoming too much. The idea for the third-party tool, the first one, is it's just a touch point. You're just wetting their whistle. You just want to sort them. Hey, do you want to get more information? It's just starting the process of recruiting. And just make sure before you go down the road of trying to make something yourself, if there's something that exists that the company has created that somebody else is using, you're always going to be better. And we're going to have actually in the guide some space for you to do some assignments and write down what the tools are. And but I'm telling you, this is important. You must get this done before the challenge starts on the 15th. In order for you to be able to execute it. But hopefully you got something out of this message. Don't be the expert. Say less. Find a third-party tool. And if you start from that point, I promise you, I'm going to give you what you need to create a breakthrough in your business. So with that, we'll see you soon. We're going to kick things off live on Monday at noon in the group here. I'll be going live on the 15th. Hey, spread the word to your teams. ReviveYourDownline.com. Registration will actually be open all the way through the end of the challenge. So promote this sucker, new, old, it doesn't matter. Get them all in here. Let me give them a kick of you know what, and let me give you some momentum going into the second half of the year. So see you soon. Take care.